Hunter Biden absolutely lost it on George Clooney and the Pod Save America guys and pretty much everyone else that he believes backstabbed his dad in the last election. Take a look.
Kim, and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not an actor. He is a I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. What do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president at a time in which, by the way, what do people care about the most? Why do you think that the Republicans have an advantage over us? Because they're unified. They will go along with anything. I wasn't asking anybody to go along with anything. I was asking people to go along with this. The most successful administration in my lifetime. And I'm including the Obama administration, I'm including the Reagan administration, I'm including every administration in my lifetime.
So obviously those are some very strong words against George Clooney, strong accusations, and I think we need to respond to the most serious of them, that he's not really an actor. And I think that's crazy. I think he was great in Michael Clayton. I think he was wonderful in Gravity. From Dusk Till Dawn. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, see, he's very mad. And look, he's gonna be mad. His last name is Biden. He loves his dad. They're very close. So that's a fact, Jack. He's gonna be angry about it. But like, does he not get why people thought that he needed to step down after that debate? He did go on in that interview, which is hours long. It's way too long. Channel 5, great job by Andrew Callaghan in doing the interview, I guess, but it's very long. They cover a lot of ground. He admits that it was an absolutely horrible debate, but then he said the reason for it was that he was just tired. They'd give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage and looks like a deer in the headlights, and it feeds into every effing story that anybody wants to tell. But like, it wasn't because of Ambien. Maybe Ambien didn't help or something. I mean, you know, a night after having NyQuil, I'm definitely a bit groggy, but like, you could put me on 30 Ambien and I would do a better job in that debate than Joe Biden did. So Luke, I know this is something you've been thinking about. What do you make of Hunter Biden?
Why is he here? What is he doing? I've had the caveat when I bring this up of I spent a considerable amount of time debunking in defense, not so much of Hunter, but of Joe Biden, right-wing lies about what Joe Biden didn't do in relation to Hunter. But that doesn't mean that Hunter didn't provide such a horrific political liability for father constantly. And just added a layer of confusion to the clear contrast between the corruption of Trump and Biden, when Biden obviously wasn't guilty of what Republicans accused him of, but Hunter, like I said, set them up for this series of conspiracy theories. And instead of feeling bad about that and being like, I'm just gonna move off left stage and not become a big focal point, he does this interview. He's doing a few interviews. He went on with Jamie Harrison too. And my thought is just, why? We're having a debate right now about, people are saying that Mamdani's presence is good or bad for the Democratic Party. Oh, is it AOC's future? Or are we going to bring back Joe Manchin, baby? Or whatever. Do you know who? That's an interesting debate. Do you know who I don't want to be part of this conversation? Hunter Biden. That's the last person I need as a part of this debate. And what it's doing too is Fox News is having a heyday. They get to talk about that instead of Trump's problems and his Epstein debacle. True. Oh, Hunter returns. I saw Jesse Waters being like, maybe Hunter should run for president. And it does that. And now we're talking about the mother-loving debate again. My goodness. Listen, folks, I took a little binge, I got real sleepy, so I say about sharp stack. And it brings us back to the debate I don't want to have about the debate anymore. It's over.
I know. I had mostly forgotten about it. It was one of the worst nights of my life. Nobody wants to think about it. The issue we have in America is we used to have famous people and rich people. Like some of the famous people were rich, but they weren't as rich as the rich people. But now the rich people all want to be famous people They all, like Jeff Bezos can't be just some a-hole in a mansion or whatever. They all want to be famous and everything. And so Hunter Biden could just go, he's going to be rich for the rest of his life. He could just go and live a life of luxury for the rest of his life, but they all desperately want to be in the news and talked about. And also bear in mind, from his perspective, his dad was backstabbed and he wants to speak up for him because his dad can't really defend himself anymore because he was given an Ambien. And so I understand that. I love my dad and I defend him too. Tragically, I lost him many years ago, but like you can just go and be rich. You don't have to do this. But that said, Luke, you seem down about the Hunter Biden thing, and I want to raise your spirits back up. So let's turn to another topic. We can return to this, but let's turn to another topic that was raised by Hunter Biden, which might be a little bit more fun. Let's take a look at this on Stephen Miller.
I don't know anyone personally that if you took Stephen Miller, isolated, and you played a clip of the things that he says.
Every day we arrest another alien they let into this country who raped a child, who beat a woman.
Quote, all the kinky-haired, swarthy-skinned, long-despised phantoms, all the teeming ants toiling for the white man's comfort.
And his little physical demeanor, and not be able to say, there's something up about that mother. However, how do you identify and change the mind of someone who is so ignorant that they cannot discern between a fact and an outright lie?
He lost me at the end because the idea that Stephen Miller can't tell the difference between a lie and the truth. Stephen Miller doesn't care. Stephen Miller is an ideologue. He's a fascist. He's pursuing a different system, and he is perfectly happy to get there entirely based on lies. So I think Hunter Biden's giving him almost too much credit, even though I did enjoy the little image of Stephen Miller being only 2 feet tall. But anyway, that was fun, and Stephen Miller does suck. So for that reason, I'm okay with Hunter Biden doing the interview. What do you think?
I was watching it. I was just so irritated. And then he went, there's something effed up about that mother effer. And I was like, all right, you got me. That was good. But it's just, the whole interview went to such weird places. Like they were talking about how you would cook or make or whatever, stir, crack, I don't know. But like that came up, and yeah, the debate stuff came up, his laptop came up, and the Stephen Miller moment was good. And some of his rants, honestly, aside from seemingly not being able to say anything other than that whatever, I mean, that's what's confusing is some of the points, of course, like that one I agree with. But I'm just a little bit blinded right now by having to hear about his laptop and having to look at blacked out images of his whole business that Marjorie puts up in front of the world, and being a bunch of right wingers will just start sending me nude images of Hunter and being like, have you seen Hunter Biden's laptop? And so I finally thought that we got past that. And I think other people can say that Stephen Miller is a short freak. Do we need him to be saying it?
You know what? I'll do it. I'll do that. From now on, you can try. He's a short freak. There, Hunter. I'm taking it off your shoulders. You don't have to do it anymore. Yeah, you're totally right. And look, I think that Hunter Biden has been talked about for 100,000 lifetimes in the media over the past 5 years. And I feel free to disagree with me, everybody. I think that if literally none of that reporting had happened, nothing would be different for regular people. There was nothing in any of that people needed to hear. And I'm not saying he never did anything wrong. He appears to have committed those crimes, and if he'd ended up in jail, I really wouldn't care. I don't know the guy or whatever. But nobody needed to know any of it because it never impacted their life. This is not the Kushners getting $2 billion from the Saudis or something. This doesn't affect you. It's just his own personal issues and crimes.
Except he did make a lot of American men feel insecure about their manhood.
That's true. Well, that's why I want to delete all the reporting. I want my confidence back. Anyway, with that said, man, Marge really does seem to like those photos.